All right. Well, again, my name is Daniel Gray, Senior Tech Manager for ISW. Hopefully everybody can hear me correctly. And at any point during this presentation today, if you have any questions at all, I have a screen right in front of me with questions, so I don't mind stopping and answering whatever you need, because I know there's always things come up situational based. Now, the point of this presentation today is really just to get you to understand what you need to have a successful, like for your customers to have a successful first print. So we'll just start with the basics. So what do your customers get? I'm going to go through the whole unboxing process, so you can just you will get calls from your customers. How do I put this together? And this will just give you put you in their shoes about what you're going to get and how you put it together. It's a very simple process. OKI's made it very, very easy for you to be able to unbox this, get set up, and get ready to print. Yeah, so this is the box itself. Very simple. Has 4 just connectors you can just disconnect. Just open the lid up. Now on top of the box, you'll get 2 things. You'll get your, these printers don't come assembled with their toner, actually married to their imaging drum. They come separately. So you'll get a pack of toners, your printer, and your power cable. And then also you'll just get typical main, just basic installation guide and your driver disc. One thing to note is that these printers do not come stock with a USB cord. OKI sells a lot of these, give the people option to either network them or USB, so it's just something that you should know, that they do not come with a USB cord. Now ISW does provide USB cords. Just make sure if you do order it with a USB cord. All right. Now with this, yeah, so these are your toner cards. You get CMY white. So all you have to do is just take them out of the box and the bag. They do have a white strip on the bottom. It just protects the toner. So when you open it up, before you put it in there, you don't have toner jumping everywhere. So move to the side so you can see what the printer's like. So get a knife. It comes wrapped in plastic. Now, granted, I'm going to keep this in the box because we have to do a few of these today, so I'm just going to show you. So, simply you want to take it out of the plastic, but we'll just move it. Sorry for all the noise. All right, so all you have to do with installation of the toners to the imaging drums, just open up the printer and you'll see. So anything in orange is actually removable. So very simple installation. All you have to do is take your imaging drum out. Find obviously the correct toner. Remove whatever's orange. So you pull this out. Remove the strip from the bottom of the toner. And you just click it in. So when the final product just unlocks, just click it in, lock it down, and then obviously just remove whatever's yellow. Has a direction base. It's very simple. So that's it. So once you actually have that, that's about the only assembly really required is to install the toners into the imaging drum. So got 4 of those, then just remove the orange. Fuser's already in here. All you have to do is just lock it. Like it's already comes locked. That's it. So with that being said, that's as much installation as a customer has to do to put together their printer. So once that's all installed, it will close this. You can see it over here. It will look like that. So that's all ready to go. Just close your top. It comes with obviously the power cord. Now, one thing I will mention, this is very important to note to your customers. For anybody who's using a OKI, it's required to have a dedicated line to it. Just like you're running a heat press, you're going to want something. These will minimal work on a 15 amp breaker. I suggest always a 20. That way you have enough power for the fuser to work correctly with this transfer media. The transfer media itself runs on like the hotter than transparency mode, so it is the it needs the correct voltage to work. You'll get people who will run this with a split with a heat press, and you'll see just a lot of like white toner won't fuse correctly. So very important to note. So it comes with a power cord, plug it into the wall, and that's it. So yeah, it's up to your customers to network it or USB or plug it into the computer USB. But once you go ahead and power it up, plug the USB in, all you have to do is then install the simple print driver to be able to use this printer. So is there any questions at this point about the whole? And so you can see that this is not you don't have to send somebody on site to do this. End users can do this all day long, take it out of the box and be able to print. So again, all you have to do, take the toner out, open it up, install it into the correct imaging drum, lock it in, and you're ready to go. So. Questions, comments? Let me see here. Yes, it is the same requirement for the 711. You'll see it time and time again. People are using 10 amp breakers on this stuff. 711, it's always a 15. I always suggest a 20 though. If you don't want any, the question was, is the same power requirements for 711? Any white toner printer you're using, 711, 8432, or even the Neon Box 6410, they're all going to require at least 15. So when this is doing them, you won't notice it until you're printing. I mean, it'll turn on at work, but it just won't fuse correctly because it doesn't have enough power draw coming from the wall. So it's very important. So yeah, I mean, it's just, if you guys were, probably when you're suggesting selling a heat press, yes, someone asked, should the customer keep the box? Yes, it's very important. If there's anything wrong with the printer, if you need to ship it back, definitely keep your box. It's all serial number based. It's surprisingly, to get a replacement box is really expensive. Like even for the 920 series, they'll run you about $400. 711s are about $200. I haven't price checked what the actual box is for this, but yeah, keep the box. If anything happens, they don't send someone on site to fix the printer. They'll require you to ship it back, or they'll get a call tag for it. So make sure you keep the box. Yeah, good question. All right, so that goes over the printer. What I figured the best thing to do for the rest of this is I'm going to go over to the actual computer, show you how to install the driver, and then go over how to print from different softwares. So I suggested always to buy transfer or sell transfer with your printer, because that's the media you're running. That's going to be the correct thing to use for color correction, for white toner usage. Overall, just simplicity. It takes all the guesswork out of it. You don't have to set up a print driver. There's no settings that are required. All you do is just load the print driver, leave it alone, and let the software do the printing, like the actual talking to the printer for you. But you will find you'll have customers, and you'll have customers out there who don't want to buy the RIP, don't have the RIP, start buying media from you, and they're not using the software, and maybe something's going on. So I just wanted to show you from every customer base, so using the Adobe suite, CorelDraw, and we can just dabble in transfer just to show you how easy it is to use. So you just have a reference about what you're going to need, because every single software has communicates a little bit different to the print driver if you're not using the RIP software. So I figured that'd be a good thing to go on, because this is all stuff that is actually trying to get a printout. Right? So you have to have all these things set correctly, or customer won't have a successful first print. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the webcam and head over to the computer. Does anybody have any questions when I'm up here? We can come back a little bit later or anything. All right, I'm going to switch over to the computer and we'll start installing the print driver. 1 second. Does OKI pay for the shipping or is it the customer's responsibility? Yeah, most likely, OKI's going to get a call tag unless it's something that I don't want this printer anymore. Now, the customer's not going to be responsible for that. So if there's a problem with your OKI printer, they're going to get it back for you. They get it back from the customer. It's on them. So that's a good question too as well. Anything else? All right, switching over to the computer. All right, hopefully everybody can see my screen. As I said before, the OKI does come, every single one does come with a disk with drivers for it. Now, it's kind of just a basic driver. There is, if you go, I always suggest, again, go to OKI as a website. You just go to OKI.com and you'll find under the products, the digital transfer printers. This is where you can go. Instead of, like, half the people these days don't even have a CD-ROM. I mean, I know my computer does not. So it's easier for someone to just go to the website and get the latest driver for their operating system. So if you go to, just OKI.com, find your products under support and drivers, click on digital transfer printers. You see it actually has all the printers listed. They have for their transfer media. Even because there's still some 920s in the market, it'll be listed. Tell your customer whichever one they're buying, just go ahead and pick the appropriate printer. Again, for what we're doing today, we're going to pick the 8432. And then all you have to do is just simply select your operating system. I have Windows 10, 64-bit. But yes, there will be different PS drivers based off of every single operating system. And you'll see here, this is your most current PostScript driver. Go ahead and download here. And then, with one click, it'll start downloading. So just as easy as that. All right. Now I already pre-downloaded, so I'll go ahead and just show you. This is the driver you get. All customer needs to do, simply just double click on it, follow the instructions. And so this is where options, some people get a little confused. They'll go ahead and do easy installation to a network when they actually have it USB or other way. So we're going to be just because most people are using USB, we're going to just show you how to do that. So easy installation, local. And I already have it on my printer, so this is why it's saying this. Now it's going to go ahead and do this, install it, and then it'll tell you at a certain time to go ahead and plug in your printer. So. And so once it's done, it'll tell you to actually plug in your device, turn it on, and then it'll automatically, Windows will do it, automatically install it for you. And that's it. So you can see I already have so it just shows up as a recognized device. So it's all ready to go. So that's as easy as setting up that driver. Yeah, see, I installed my driver about a month ago, and now there's already a new update. So it comes with the CD for easy use, but it is always better just to go down to the OKI's webpage and download the latest driver. So it has the best, it has all the correct fuser settings and everything like that. So go ahead and do that. So, and granted, so that you're going to have to do this for everybody, if you have transfer rip or not. Everybody's going to have to install the driver for the printer to work correctly. It's just like if you bought a printer from Best Buy. It does have a driver for the operating system to communicate to it. So there we go. So if I was using transfer rip, I would just install my rip software and be good to go. Now for those other users who don't use transfer rip, there is certain driver settings that you must have if you're using Photoshop, Illustrator, or CorelDraw. One second, I have one question. Let me take a, yeah, that's, the question is, do you have to install the print driver before plugging in the printer? Yes, it's very, very important to follow the instructions. Now, do not plug in the printer or power it on until you have that driver, you're in that stage with that driver. Because Windows, especially when Windows will go ahead and try to download and auto install a print driver and really will screw up the process. And you will get customers who just don't follow the instructions or just will get ahead of themselves. And then you'll have to remove a device and then reinstall it. So yes, follow those instructions. It won't cause an error, it just won't install correctly. And you'll have to basically install incorrect printer. You would have to right click on it, delete it, and then go back and install correctly. So very important, good question. Yeah, follow the instructions. Do not power it on or plug it in USB until you're told to. So, all right. So as I was saying, for all your users again, if you're selling the RIP software, this won't be a problem. You won't have to set anything. The RIP software does it for you. But for those users who just want to try to other transfer media, even don't provide, or ones who previously have an OKI who are now coming to you for media, or just, or previous customers and now know you are selling them, there are people in the market not using this. So for those users who are not using the RIP, you do have to set certain things. Paul, yes, this is going to be recorded as well. So we'll send out links to you maybe tomorrow or by the end of the week where you can go and see this and reference it. So you do have to set a few printing preferences, and it's always best to suggest to your end user to go to devices and printers and then adjust the printing preferences there. That way you can set it once and then you can forget it. You don't have to do it ever again. You'll see some customers don't realize that, and every time they go print, they'll go in and change this, on the fly, and just do it one time. Open up your devices and printers, right click on your OKI, and then this is what's going to come up, and then it'll save it always as default. So this is your stock driver here. So we just make some basic changes that they may seem basic, but they are very important to be able to print correctly. We'll just start in the back end, the last one. This is your color management here. You don't have to touch anything. This is where if you have the option to turn your white on and off. Obviously, you're going to always want to keep your white on, but some people do use these printers just to run media. So you can turn your white off and then start printing pages, So this always comes stock this way. You don't have to touch anything. Under job options, this is your option here to have mirror print or not. That way it's nice for the users who are printing out of Photoshop or CorelDraw. They don't have to mirror their print before it. It'll automatically do it for you. Now there's one thing we do need to change here. It comes stock with normal, so it's a lower resolution. You can bump it up to fine detail, and it'll just give it a little bit more. It's a midline between doing pro high quality, because we're not printing actual full-on pictures. We're just printing, high-end like vector art and graphics. So you can bump up the detail, give it a little better resolution, won't use too much toner. So you can just set that one, hit apply, and it'll save it. Now under paper quality, it'll automatically select. We don't want to do that because of OKIs. It is a flat paper path. You want to print through the multi-purpose tray, and it's going to come out through the back, through the rear output tray. So we'll just go ahead and just tell the printer that our paper source is always a multi-purpose tray, and then hit apply. Now, I'm going to come back to this media setting because this is the most important part of setting up your driver outside of printing from transfer. So before we'll do that, we're going to go into Advanced tab. And then here, this is where you're just going to tell the printer what kind of paper it is. If we're printing from 11 by 17, go ahead and just set it default as tabloid, so you don't have to do it every time. Just whatever media you're going to be using the most of. Now, this is another key point here, your image color management. This is what really takes that CMY K data and turns into CMY white. So it comes stock without it, so it's disabled. So we want to make sure that color management is handled by the printer. If you ever get customers who are printing black and it comes out white, or white comes out black, most likely their color management is off. So making sure that's handled by the printer. You do have two options, either pictures or graphics. We're going to be doing, most customers are doing vector art, logos. So graphics is pretty standard. If you ever have someone printing with a light transfer media and they really want to print a picture, you can change that to pictures just to get a better color management, but just keep it to graphics and you're going to be good to go. Here, we turn our tray switch off because I don't want that. I want to tell the OKI all the time where I'm printing from. So I don't want them to look in tray 1 or anything like that. I'm just going to turn it off. And just like these other settings where I'm going to turn the check paper and other tray off, it's always going to be just printing straight from the multi-purpose tray. And check paper in the multi-purpose tray, I'm going to turn it off because I'm always going to tell the printer what we're printing. OKIs are great because they do go ahead and check for media weight and everything, and we'll adjust, but we're going to tell what we're printing, so we don't want it to think for itself. So have that saved, hit apply, and then again, I'll just go over the only thing we really changed, which is really important, is the image color management to be handled by the printer, and then other ones are turn the tray. It's up to you, but turn the tray switch off and check other paper. You can just turn it off, so you don't have to deal with it. And this is where your customer does change the paper size of the media. Okay, this is what's going to determine your customer being able to print their media correctly, period. So this is the media setting, which is basically telling the fuser how hot and how fast to send that media through. So it doesn't come stock with any kind of print settings. That's why in here it'll tell you, it'll check for it. But we're going to tell it exactly what to do. Now, for Forever Laser Dark, which is your standard one where you're going to be doing all the time, you're going to have to use user type 1. And that is key. So if you have anybody printing not out of the rip and they have correct power management and correct humidity and they can't get something to the white toner to fuse correctly, 9 times out of 10, their media setting is not correct. So user type 1 is for Forever Laser Dark and user type 2 is Forever Laser Light. Now, every media that Forever sends out and we send out to you guys, it comes with instruction sheets, and they do remind the end user, if they're not using the RIP, what user type to set it to. So it will be, it's not like this information can't be found. It is said right on the instructions themselves. So most people are using Forever Laser Dark, so you can just set it to that. Customers can change this on the fly in the post end if they need to, but if you just set it to that, you're going to be safe. So hit apply, and you're good. So now you're actually ready to print from Photoshop, Illustrator, CorelDraw. So, but that is 100% key. If no one buys a RIP, you have to do those steps or you won't have success. So just make sure, remind your user if they're not using it that this has to get set up. So granted, if your customer buys a RIP software, you don't have to touch any of that. So another benefit of using it. So, okay. So that being said, now we are ready to go to our graphics software and print what we want to do. Now, you'll see the only ones that truly work without having some kind of interesting rigging setup is the Adobe Suite and CorelDraw. Some people, I have users who want to try to use Silhouette Studio or something like that, but that is all proprietary software that's based for Silhouette or print into like a simple inkjet printer. We have white toner, and we lay a white underbase, so it's really important to have software who knows how to handle that. So again, the Adobe Suite knows how to do it, and so does CorelDraw. So those are really your only options for an end user not wanting to use the RIP, is using Adobe Suite and CorelDraw. So we'll start with the hardest one. So the hardest one to print from, or the one that's going to take any kind of editing, is printing from Photoshop. So one thing you have to understand, what customers don't remember, is that if you're printing any other printer and you have white there, it doesn't matter because there's no white. But with the OKIs, if it sees white color code, it's going to print white. So make sure if a customer has a JPEG and they print it to the OKI, it's going to come out with a big white box around it. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, vector art's completely different, and we'll cover that in the next 2 softwares. But yeah, so Photoshop, raster files, number 1, you got to make sure, you can see here, you got to make sure it's got a transparent background. Now, that being said, that's not all you have to do. So some customers will be printing out of Photoshop, and they're like, hey, I got a transparent background, I'm still getting white in the back. Now, with the raster files through Photoshop, there's one more key step that needs to happen for customers to have success printing to their printer. They have to make a clipping path. So for some, it's just the Photoshop and it's just raster files. You have to tell the printer where to put white toner. So very easy step. It takes about, it's a 3-step process. It takes about 2 seconds to do, but it is so important to have that. So all you have to do is down here on your layers tab, you'll see the thumbnail. While holding control, you'll click on the thumbnail. Now you see, you have the dancing lines go around it. Now if you have multiple ones, multiple layers, you can either merge the layers or keep hitting control and shift and grab all the layers you have. But so once you have that selected, again, I'll deselect it, go over to your thumbnail tab, hold control, and then it'll actually it'll pick up all the stuff that's not transparent. Go over here to your, there's just a little tab on the right. Actually, you want to go to path, and we need to make a work path. So this is all part of the process of developing a clipping path. This is just Photoshop nerd stuff. So to make a work path, the smallest tolerance we can get is a 0.5. So we'll go ahead and, so again, smallest tolerance, 0.5. I'm just going to go ahead and make that. So I went ahead and made a work path. Now the next thing you have to do is click on it. You can either, I always name it clipping so I know what I'm dealing with. You could just name it path 1, it doesn't matter. You don't have to name it. You do need to make sure it recognizes it as a path. And then one more time, make a clipping path. And the smallest flatness is 0.2. Now once that's done, your customer now can print from Photoshop to the OKIs. But all the time you'll have tons of people doing this and get that white background around it. It's like I'm trying to print an image and I'm getting a lot of white. It's going to be raster files in Photoshop and they don't have that step here. So we'll do it one more time so you can remember. Again, I'm recording this. You can see it. You can always reference it. Hold control. Click on your thumbnail. Go to paths. Make a work path. Smallest tolerance is 0.5. Name your path. Clipping path. 0.2 is the smallest flatness. And you're ready to go. Now I can simply just go to File, Print. Choose my OKI. And then print the file. So, and see, we already had this all set up in our previous print settings. So we defaulted it one time. User never has to touch it. It's all good. You're good to go. So that's why I always suggest doing it in devices and settings. So it just does it one time. You can set it and forget it. So now if you were using Forever Lasered Light instead, you do have the option to be able to go in here and just change your user type on the fly. But when we set as stock, you're good to go. So that's printing out of Photoshop. So is there any questions on that? I know we started with the hardest one. So I know it was a lot to probably take in real quick. Is there anybody have any questions on that? You see, this is why I suggest buying the RIP software, because all I'd have to do in Photoshop is save it as a PDF, and I wouldn't have to mess with any of this. But again, you're going to have people asking these questions and want to know if it's an option. But so that's printing out of Photoshop. All right, we'll move to the next Adobe Suite. Is printing out of in Illustrator. So if you see here, same file, just vector art. Great thing about Illustrator, only thing you got to do, file, print. So as long as it's that vector file, you're good to go. So granted, it can get like, it's granted, it's only for vector art. Now, if you have someone printing, try to bring in a PNG into Illustrator, they're going to have to do it through Photoshop. There's other ways to make a clipping path in Illustrator, but it's a nightmare. You don't want to get it confusing. So if you have raster files, PNGs and JPEGs, print them out of Photoshop. If you have someone printing vector files, print them out of Illustrator. So any questions on that? So very simple, very, very simple to print out of Illustrator. All right, third option is CorelDraw. kind of the same thing. The nice thing about CorelDraw, it's kind of a mix between Photoshop and Illustrator. So if I was to bring in a PNG file into here that was a raster file, it'll automatically make a clipping path for you. Now it's not cute, it's not really that clean, but it will automatically do it for you. So if you have customers bringing in PNG files and printing out of CorelDraw, it will automatically do it. Now it won't do it for JPEGs with a white background. It'll still print a box because it still has that color code. But so they have a little software in here. You can take your bitmap files and remove background. So there is options to remove that background, but it has to be transparent. Now this is vector art, so it's just as simple to print from here. Vector art, just hit File, Print. As long as you just set your media, your page, set your page sizes here, and that's just up here on the top. Just set your media, File, Print. There's one more thing though that CorelDraw does. It's kind of a hiccup, but how we already set in our print driver if we're going to mirror print it. Unfortunately with CorelDraw, you have to set it again. So if you have customers like, I've set it in the print driver and it's not mirroring it. Yeah, unfortunately you have to set it again in CorelDraw. And that's it. So again, you have your options to change all your user types or whatever under here. Granted, I already had CorelDraw open, so it didn't recognize my default settings that I previously made. So, but that's it. So that's your three options for people who don't want to spend that $5.99 investment into the RIP software. Or again, customers already have these in printing, and they don't have the option to have the RIP software. So those are the three softwares that will work with these OKIs, as long as you know those basic steps. So now, granted, I'm going to show you again. I'm going to just show you the RIP software so you can just see how easy it is to use. Now, with the RIP software, Transfer RIP, all you have to do is just load in, and it comes with profiles for all the papers. Again, I didn't even have to touch my driver. I just had to install it. And then I could go right to my RIP software, pick the paper I want. So I'm going to be 8432 with laser dark, select it, load in a file. Just takes a minute to load. Click on my file, select that one. And it's just like any other RIP software. If you make it a print-ready PDF, you're good to go. And one thing I did not mention is that all color formats for the OKI white toner printers are going to be CMYK, not RGB. Here's your option for your paper layout. So if you have an 8.5 by 11, select that. If you have tabloid paper, 11 by 17, select the paper. Once it loads up, it's nice. You can kind of dummy through these. There's a lot of options, but if you don't want to deal with them, you don't have to. They're only here to help you. But everything's set to default, so you can just hit next right through it. Automatically has default settings for the Forever Laser Dark. You can adjust things here, but you don't have to. Hit next. It'll pick your printer. It'll mirror it for you. The basic screen printing, which is like it's just printing the media. It'll automatically select your infuser type, what tray. The only thing you have to do is just set up a -4 offset. I can hit print and I'm done. So you saw what all those steps and all those things you needed in Photoshop, CorelDraw, and Illustrator. And then just here, like 3 clicks and I'm done. It makes it very user-friendly for someone to have a really good chance of success if everything else, as long as they have, they plug their printer into the wall. So I'm going to go back to the main screen. We can talk and see if any other questions. All right, so I know that was it seems like a lot, but that's why I just wanted to give you an idea as resellers what you're going to have to deal with from before you even print. So this is what every user is going to have to deal with on one certain level to be able to have a successful first print before they even go hit that print button. There is certain things that need to be done. So again, unboxing is very easy. Again, anything that's orange, just go ahead and remove it. Install your toners, your imaging drums, close it back down, power it into the wall with a provided plug, as long as it's a 15 amp breaker and preferably a 20. I got a question, 1 second. If the users have the RIP, can they use design software other than Adobe Suite or Corel? Yeah, you can design it whatever you want, as long as you export it as an EPS, PDF, you can design whatever you want. Just make sure they don't export it as a JPEG, because if you do bring a JPEG into RIP software, because it does not have transparency, it will bring white color code along with it. So you can design anything you want, as long as it has you can export out of it to a PDF or a provided file format that's correct. So yeah, any software is good, but again, most of those things that are out there, like if it is Silhouette Studio or something like that, they're not going to give you too many options to print, to save out files. They want to be able to use their software or their printers. So, yeah. So again, so make sure that you got the plug it into the wall. It's 20 amp, 15 to 20 amp breaker. Does not come with a USB cord, so make sure we know that. Power on the printer. Plug in the USB cord to the back of the printer. Go install your drivers, and then plug it in when they ask you to, and then that's it. So. Is there any other questions? I can go over anything again. This will be recorded, so yeah, you'll have this chance to reference it at any time, but just want to make sure you know what your end users are getting into when they get the box. So it's simple, install the driver, but I think try to make it a little bit understanding without even going into what the RIP software does for color correction and white toner savings, how easy it is to sell that with it, because it makes it just easy. 3 simple clicks and you're good to go to printing. So, all right. Any other questions before, or anything else anybody wants to go over? Now we have us. But I hope that was helpful for you guys, just to see what your end users are getting in the mail. So, because I know some of you guys just never seen it get it on box. So, hopefully, it puts you in touch to what kind of questions you need to ask and conversations you need to have before you sell it. And so. Make sure you talk about power management and talk about design software, and offer the RIP as an option. So, if you print a JPEG to a PDF, does that mess it up? Yes. So if you actually save a file as a JPEG and you export it as a PDF, unfortunately, JPEG files they don't have transparency. So yeah, even if you save a JPEG to a PDF, if that original file is not transparent, yeah, you're going to have the same problem. So again, that's a good question, because you will get that. People designing, make sure that they do remove a background. If they bring over color code, white color code to your print ready file, that's going to bring that white with it. So if they start designing in JPEGs, yeah, make sure you remove the background. So that's why I always suggest, work with EPS files, work with PNG files. They're cleaner, they're easier to use, and they don't bring along with them a border in white. So. All right. Well, great. Well, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And again, my name is Daniel Gray. Head up RJ. He's the account executive. We're always here to go over this stuff. This is just trying to be a little more general, so everybody can kind of get a handle on it. But if you have any more questions, you want to talk to us in depth, feel free to call us. Feel free to email. That's what we're here for. So, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate you stopping by, and hopefully this was helpful. But yeah, I think in 2 more weeks we'll be doing more demo, like another webinar. So if you have any suggestions, anything you want to see, we can do whatever you want. So whatever we can do to help you out. So, all right. Well, thank you very much, and have a great day.